A very good evening and welcome to the World Now at 4 on Hills TV. I am Udwak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, NCDC registers 975 Lassa fever cases, 177 deaths in 11 months. Still on the headlines, Niger receives 2 French attack helicopters. Also on the headlines, fresh Russian strikes hit cities across Ukraine, says officials. And on sports, FIFA launches service to protect World Cup players from online abuse. And now the news in detail. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that is the NCDC, has said that the cumulative case of Lassa fever in the country since the beginning of the year is 975, with 177 deaths from 26 states, with a case fatality ratio, that is the CFR, of 18.2%. The NCDC said via its website on Thursday that of all confirmed cases in the country, 71% were from Ondo, 33% Edo, 25% and Bauchi, 13% states. The Public Health Institute said the predominant age group affected in the country was 21 to 30 years, with the male to female ratio for confirmed cases being 1 to 0 to 8. According to it, the number of suspected cases has increased compared to that reported for the same period in 2021. No new healthcare worker was affected in the reporting week 44. The report also includes 17 new cases between October 31 and November 6, 2022. Newsman quoted the Federal Ministry of Health, that is the FMOH, as saying that science is looking at why Lassa fever is endemic in Edo, Ondo, Ebonyi, and Bauchi states. The Minister of Health, Osage Hanera, said the Lassa fever is usually experienced mostly in the dry season. And away from that story, Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, that is the NYSC, Mohammed Fada, has urged Youth Corps members to be patriotic during the 2023 general elections. The DG, who visited Katsina State Batch C Stream 1 camp, said the Corps members will be deployed to participate in the electoral process come 2023, adding that it would be necessary for them to get conversant with the electoral laws and abide by it. Fada added that ahead of the 2023 general elections, in which many would participate, he urged them to play by the rules of the game and be conversant with the electoral laws. In another story, the Executive Director, West Africa Civil Society Institute, that is the WASCI, Nana Afanzinzu, has described the 2023 general election as a true test to the strength of Nigeria's democracy journey. Afanzinzu, who said this in Abuja at the launch of the West African Civil Society Institute office in Nigeria, added that the election is important and is coming at a time when the West African sub-region is experiencing democratic retrogression, militant Islamic conflict, poverty and inequality. She, however, said those factors make the work of the civil society even more imperative.
It's about the awareness that citizens have a say in their governance. They must have a political stance, having democracy, having that kind of voice to be able to speak what it is that is important, say what it is that is important, and participate in your own governance and development. It's a political stance. And that is what this discussion is about. We need to be, the social contract between the citizens and government has been weakened in many of our countries. And we need to, as citizens, begin to question why is that the case and how can we solve this situation? Because that is the only way that we can have the kind of development that we want in West Africa. And so that is why there's the discussion about repoliticization. We have to really become aware and we have to organize. We used to have a very strong, strong solidarity among civil society in West Africa. That has weakened.
When we return, we'll be bringing you stories from South Africa and other parts of the world. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And still talking the news, a long-awaited report on an alleged corruption scandal targeted at South African President Cyril Ramaphosa a month before a crucial deadline for his political future is set to be examined on December 6, the Parliament announced Thursday. An independent parliamentary committee was tasked in September with examining President Ramaphosa's accountability in the 2020 case and in issuing findings that could lead to a possible vote for his impeachment. ANC parliamentary spokesman Sorry for that, Bridge. Still talking the story on South Africa, ANC parliamentary spokesman Moloto Mothapo told newsmen that a parliamentary committee met this morning and it was just decided that the National Assembly would examine the report on December 6, 10 days before the Congress of the historic ruling party. Cyril Ramaphosa is accused of concealing the robbery from the police and the money from the tax authorities, organizing the kidnapping and interrogation of the robbers and then bribing them to keep quiet. The president, who was repeatedly attacked on the subject during heated sessions in the assembly, denied the accusations, questioning the amounts mentioned and maintaining that the money found was in fact from the sale of livestock. He also denounced the political aims of his opponent. In South Africa, the impeachment of the head of state is subject to a two-thirds majority vote in the National Assembly. The ANC, led by Cyril Ramaphosa, holds more than two-thirds of the seats. And now let's take you to France and have you know that France has given Niger to attack helicopters to boost its fight against extremist groups linked to Al-Qaeda and the so-called Islamic State group. The authorities unveiled the aircraft at a ceremony in the capital Niamey on Wednesday. The delivery of the aircraft comes barely a week after the French President Emmanuel Macron announced the end of a decade-long French counterterrorism mission in the Sahel region known as Operation Barkhane, for which France had deployed more than 5,000 troops. Niger's Defense Minister Al-Kassoum Indatu said the delivery of the equipment was part of military cooperation between the two countries. Officials say the helicopters have reconnaissance, surveillance, and attack capabilities. They would also be used for the evacuation of military casualties. The 5 military helicopters, as well as the training of pilots, cost about 24 million euros, that is 24.8 million US dollars and 21 million pounds, according to the authorities. We'll now go to other parts of the world after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back. It is The World Now at 4 on Hills TV. Officials have confirmed fresh Russian strikes across cities in Ukraine on Thursday, the latest in a series of attacks that have crippled Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Kyiv regional officials announced 2 cruise missiles were shot down over Kyiv. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said at an economic forum in Kyiv, also noted that they are shelling gas production and enterprises in Dnipro. Ukrainian energy company earlier warned on Thursday about power outages throughout Ukraine as consumption increased due to temperatures falling sharply. Information about the casualties and damage is being clarified as officials in the central city of Dnipro and the Black Sea hub of Odessa also reported Russian strikes. To more stories, Republicans have secured the 218 seats needed for a majority in the lower chamber of Congress a week after the midterm elections While the party's margin in the House of Representatives is razor thin, it is enough to stall President Joe Biden's agenda for the next 2 years. Kevin McCarthy, the Republicans' leader in the House, celebrated the result. The Republicans, who had hoped to win back control of both chambers, underperformed expectations in last week's midterms.
I'm proud to announce the era of one-party Democrat rule in Washington is over. Washington now has a check and balance. The American people have a say in their government. And this new Republican leadership team is ready to get to work to put America back.
However, they won the seats they needed for their House majority on Wednesday when California's 27th district went to incumbent Mike Garcia. The Republican Party is now projected to win between 218 to 223 seats in the 435-seat House, with votes in several cliffhanger races still being counted. Their majority may not be clear for days or even weeks. According to Newsman, it was reported that McCarthy, who was picked by rank-and-file Republicans to be their nominee to replace Democrat Nancy Pelosi as the next Speaker of the House, had been officially flipped. And now let's quickly get to business and have you know the National Bureau of Statistics, that is the NBS, has disclosed that 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. In its latest National Multidimensional Poverty Index report launched on Thursday, the NBS said that 63% of Nigerians are poor due to a lack of access to health, education and living standards alongside unemployment and shocks. According to the Statistician General of the NBS, Semiu Adenira, it is the first time they will conduct a standard multidimensional poverty survey in Nigeria. According to the Statistician General at the NBS, Semiu Adenira, this survey has also caught the eyes of the United Nations, as the United Nations Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator in Nigeria, Matthias Kamale, who revealed the findings from the report, said 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor, meaning that they are being derived in more than one dimension of the four measured. The MPI offers a multivariate form of poverty assessment, identifying the privations across health, education, living standards, work, and shocks. Still talking business, the federal government of Nigeria has urged farmers to deepen collaborations that would strengthen the agricultural sector and diversify the nation's economy. The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Abubakar, made the appeal in Abuja during the National Farmers' Day celebration. Abubakar stated that agriculture is a sector people can continue to diversify into without, and adding that as long as humanity exists and farmers must come together to move the country forward through agriculture. Earlier, Farouk Mudi, the national president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, that is the AFAN, said that the essence of the Farmers' Day celebration is a day that avails agricultural stakeholders, especially agro-allied industries, the opportunity to meet each other. Modi said that in spite of the myriads of challenges farmers faced during the recent raining season of flooding and loss of farm produce, Nigerian farmers are still able to extend their gesture to distribute free foodstuff as a sign of thanksgiving for the harvest. The chairman, the board of trustees of AFAN, Murtala Nyako, applauded the federal government for its continued support of the association, urging all members of AFAN to come together and put their past differences aside while supporting the sitting officials to deliver on their mandates. And now let's quickly take this break. When we come back, it's going to be more on sports. Don't go away.
Good evening and welcome to Sport News on World Now at 4. I am Memo Cynthia Asoya. Now to sports. Cameroonian basketball player Nkwan Kennedy has taken to social media to showcase his talent and desire to play the game in the Elite National Basketball Association NBA tournament. In a video he posted on social media, Kennedy captures his intense training sections in the humble settings of his village in Bemeda. The region is gripped by conflict between English-speaking secessionists and the mainly French-speaking government, but Kennedy appears unperturbed as he practices his drills on clay courts or works out using makeshift weights. And now to football, where Borussia Dortmund and Ivory Coast striker Sebastian Haller has announced he is to have further surgery as he continues his treatment for a testicular tumor. The 28-year-old first had an operation in July after a tumor was discovered and has been undergoing chemotherapy in recent months. Haller joined Dortmund from Ajax in July but felt unwell during the club pre-season tour of Switzerland, with subsequent tests revealing a malignant tumor. A former France Youth International has scored 4 goals in 15 appearances for Ivory Coast and played all 4 matches as the Elephants exited the year's African Cup of Nations in the last 16. Haller spent 18 months with West Ham after joining in 2019 for a 10-club record fee, £45 million, that is $53.3 million, from Eintracht Frankfurt before moving to Ajax in January last year. The World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has launched a new service to crack down on hate speech and discrimination online during the World Cup. The sports governing body announced this in a statement on Wednesday. FIFA President Gianni Infantino said FIFA is committed to provide the best possible conditions for players to perform to the best of their abilities, adding that the service will protect more than 830 World Cup players from abuse on social media during the Qatar tournament. David Aganzo, the president of the Worldwide Representative Organization for Professional Footballers, that is the FIFPRO, said it was football's responsibility to protect the players. He has also urged the social media companies to join the support the football governing body in tackling the issue of the FIFA World Cup. And that's your sport news on World Now at 4. Back to Udwak Daniel for the rest of the news. I am Memo Cynthia Asoya.
Thanks, Memo Cynthia Sawyer, for that one on sports. And still to the rest of the news, local Ukrainian officials say 2 people have been killed in a missile attack overnight on the southeastern region of Zaporizhzhia following new Russian missile attacks. Prime Minister Denis Samal said targets included the huge Pivdenmash missile factory in Dnipro. 3 others were wounded in an attack on the northeastern city of Kharkiv, and 3 were hurt in the Odessa. Explosions were heard in several parts of the country, including the southern port of Odessa, the capital Kyiv, and the central city of Dnipro. and civilians were urged to take shelter as air raid warnings were issued. Adnan Oktar, who has been described as a cult leader, led television program surrounded by women as he preaches creationism and conservative values. And that's the size of the world now at 4 on Hills TV. Before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you NCDC registers 975 Lassa fever cases, 177 deaths in 11 months. We also told you Nigeria receives 2 French attack helicopters. We also brought to the fore the fact that French-Russian strikes hit cities across Ukraine, says officials. And on sports, FIFA launches service to protect World Cup players from online abuse. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube channel, all at Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. Thank you for watching.